Well, hello there, my friends. Boy, listen, I it's been a long day, but not just for me, for Mooney, for Autumn, for Robin, and for a lot of you who have been with me all day long in one trial or another because we have two trials going at the same time. We've got the Wolfenbarger trial, which is Christopher Wolfenbarger on trial for the murder of his wife 25 years ago. It's been a cold case. And it was thanks to a member of our community, we claim her, Mac McCollum, that there was some new movement there and eventually led to, and I don't want to take away any of the work of the people who did the hard work, but Mac made a difference there for sure. And then of course today was the last day of jury trial for Donna Adelson in the murder of Dan Markel. So we got a lot that we're covering, but tonight we are back to maybe the saddest case. I hate this case. And it's still an open case because the main suspect, and we're going to get into some stuff that's come out over the last couple of days, the main suspect is still on the run. Nobody knows if he's dead or alive. Of course, we are talking about the deaths of Peyton Evelyn Olivia Decker. Three little girls, ages 9, 8, and 5. Oh, I gotta get into the right spot here. Ages 9, 8, and 5, who, according to police, were murdered by their father, Travis Decker. Now, Mr. Decker, I he obviously was experiencing some serious mental health crises. That does not excuse the behavior of murdering anyone, let alone your children. These beautiful little girls are all tragically dead. So what I want to do today, we've got a couple of things that we want to talk about. Number one, I want to go over a timeline. Let's remind ourselves a little bit about this case. Go through a timeline that was published by ABC News. It's done very well. Number two, I am going to read from a document that was a press release from the Chelan County Sheriff's Office. And then number three, we're going to hear from our old friend, our good friend, Joseph Scott Morgan. He was a guest of Jesse Weber's over on Sidebar on the Law and Crime Network. He and another investigator talked about some very, I guess, interesting aspects of the case, but also pretty horrifying. And it just makes it all the more important to me that we find this man. And you guys know, I don't think that there is justice in this world. I really don't. I don't want to be like a downer or anything like that, but I just don't think that there is real justice in this world, because if there were real justice and there were real restitution, then these three little sweethearts would be returned to the earth, to the land of the living. And that would be justice. But we do need to get the closest that we possibly can. If he did it, we need Travis Decker to stand trial and face the music for the crime. And police say he did. I think he did. And there is more and more mounting evidence. And so first, come with me, won't you, over to this article where, let me push this button, okay? This is a article that was just published a few days ago. Gives a real good timeline, just real quick, so that we can establish ourselves in the story. Okay, May 30th of this year. Okay, Travis Decker, 32 years old, picked up the girls at their home in Wenatchee Valley, talked to his ex-wife for about 15 to 20 minutes, and then left. Ariana Kozart, Whitney Decker's attorney, told ABC News. Okay, now the thing that Whitney said, I think through her attorney, Ariana, Ms. Kozart, is that, of course, had she felt like the girls were in danger, she would have she would have protected them, not let them go. But up until this point, according to my memory of it, Travis, he was a good and doting father, right? So he said, "Hey, I will see you at 8 p.m." And he left. He never came back. Cozart said Whitney Decker contacted police that evening with a civil complaint saying she had not heard from Travis Decker and he had failed to bring the girls home at their scheduled time, officials said. She attempted to call him multiple times. His cell phone was going straight to voicemail. She began to express concern because he reportedly has never done this before, and further noted he is currently experiencing some mental health issues. Mr. Decker is actually, I can't remember if he was honorably or dishonorably discharged, but he served in the Marine Corps. May 31st, the next day, detectives learned that Travis Decker and his daughters did not arrive at a planned 5K running event. The Watachi Police Department announced the disappearance of the three girls, stating that Travis Decker was homeless and living in his vehicle or at various hotels, motels, or at campgrounds in the area. This was according to an affidavit of probable cause that you and I went over a few months ago. I can't believe it's been that long. I honestly really thought that his body would have been found, or he would have been found alive. Police said at the time that the investigation had not met an Amber Alert criteria, but they did issue an endangered missing person alert through the Washington State Patrol. Of course, neither of those things would have made a difference in this case, right? And that is a phenomenon that we sometimes we feel. I try to stay completely political neutral on things, and I think this is a politically neutral thing to say, because right, left, and center, I love you all. We all need each other, right? Um, I think oftentimes we feel, and I'm talking about like the human being, the human animal, feel like some action is better than no action. But oftentimes that isn't the case. The media brings up there was no Amber Alert, there was an endangered missing person alert. And then we go into, well, why wasn't there an Amber Alert? We go into that mode, like, wait a minute, what? But the reality is that wouldn't have changed anything in this case. The police did what was proper, what was according to procedure. Those procedures are based on the education of hard experience, right? Okay. Anyway, that's the end of my soapbox. That one anyway. June 2nd, approximately 3 p.m., officials located Travis Decker's vehicle unoccupied near the Rock Island campground in Chelan County, police said in a press release. Additional law enforcement officers responded to the scene and found the bodies of the three girls, but Decker was not located. Let's again bring up these three little kiddos, and I'll keep reading. Quote, "We want to express our sincere and deep, heartfelt condolences to the family at this time," police said. Officials began their search for Travis Decker, who police said is a former member of the military with extensive training. Of course, at the time, again, I thought, well, he's got a head start. He's got skills. But so do the police. Many of them are former military. They've got helicopters. They've got all sorts of resources. They're going to get him. But it still hasn't happened. Travis Decker was charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder and then 3 counts of first-degree kidnapping. On the 4th of June, 2 days after the girls were found, the manhunt continued for Decker, with officials saying he could be anywhere within the nation. And, I mean, I think after 3 months, by the way, it could be anywhere in the world. Travis, if you're listening, this is your opportunity to turn yourself in, do the right thing, they asked, okay? Possible sighting of Decker in Idaho was debunked. Court documents obtained by ABC News revealed more details regarding the crime scene, including that there were plastic bags over the heads of each girl and their wrists were zip tied. And we're going to talk a little bit about that because well, I'm going to let Joseph Scott Morgan tell us what he thinks about that from the forensic side of things. But that is not like it. Well, it's really hard to logic out why a person does the thing they do, especially when they're experiencing a mental health crisis. But this was not a kindness if he thought that it was. This method was not a kindness. It was mean. And we're going to get to what Joseph says here in just a little bit. Around Travis Decker's vehicle, deputies located zip ties and plastic bags strewn throughout the area, and the tailgate of the truck had what appeared to be 2 handprints of blood, according to the documents. Authorities also learned that Travis Decker was well versed in wilderness survival and could be capable of spending days or even weeks in the wilderness on his own with very little equipment. More information about Travis Decker's military background emerged. Okay, awesome. This because I was wrong about this. Specifically, that he was deployed to Afghanistan in 2014 while on active duty in the Army, and was then transferred to the Washington National Guard in 2021 from the active component, according to a spokesperson for the Washington State Military Department. Preparations for an administrative separation began in 2023 or 2024, but the process had not officially started and he remained in the Washington National Guard, the spokesperson said. Local officials began working with the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, and the U.S. Marshal's Office in their search efforts. Following day, June 5, Cozart revealed to ABC News more information on Travis Decker, specifically that he lacked mental health resources and struggled with post-traumatic stress disorder. Quote, the courts didn't fail these girls. It wasn't the judge and it wasn't Whitney. It was our system, Cozart said. Whitney feels like the system really let Travis down. If someone would have provided Travis with the help he needed, those girls would be alive. Before the girls disappeared, Cozart said there were no red flags, that he loved those girls very much. Additional details on their marriage emerged, including that his PTSD was something he always carried with him during their 10 years together, with Travis Decker screaming in the middle of the night, soaking the bed, and only getting 1 or 2 hours of sleep. After their marriage ended in 23, Whitney Decker, who has full custody of the children, decided to seek legal counsel and petition the court to put restrictions in place on his parenting due to concerning factors regarding his mental health. Cozart told ABC News the court at that time granted visitations for the father to visit the children for 3 hours on Fridays and 8 hours every other weekend, so long as he remained in Wenatchee Valley with the girls. The parenting agreement was working really well until May 30th. Okay, on June 9th, an autopsy determined the girl's cause of death to be suffocation, and the manner of death was ruled as a homicide, the Chelan County Sheriff's Office said in a statement. The Sheriff's Office said it had collected a large amount of evidence, many of the suspect's personal items from the truck, though the analysis of the evidence creates more questions and information for investigators to continue to pursue. Blood samples taken from the scene included human and non-human, the Sheriff's Office said. Further DNA and fingerprint analyses are still being conducted, the office said on June 9th. The suspect's dog had also been recovered and turned over to a humane society for care. On the 10th of June, an affidavit obtained by ABC News revealed that Travis Decker had made several internet searches 4 hours before he picked up the girls about moving to Canada. His Google searches included how does a person move to Canada and how to relocate to Canada, the affidavit said. The U.S. Marshal Service, which is leading the search for the suspect, announced a reward of up to $20,000 for information leading directly to Travis's arrest. On the 17th, officials released a new suspect flyer of Decker, including photos of potential ways Decker may have altered his appearance. We've seen those photos. On the 20th, a memorial was held for the sisters, with Whitney Decker speaking for the first time since the death of her daughters. Quote, I am so thankful for the time I had with the girls. I truly hope that the legacy of the girls' lives lives in everyone's hearts forever. They were incredible. On the 23rd, officials release an update regarding the search efforts, stating there's no certain evidence that Decker remains alive or in this area. The Chelan County Sheriff's Office also confirmed to ABC News that cadaver dogs had been deployed and utilized in the search. We can't and won't quit this search, said the Sheriff Clay Myers. I don't know how to say that. Kitidas, I don't know. Peyton, Evelyn, and Olivia Decker deserve justice. You guys know my thoughts on that. They deserve as much as we can give them. Decker remains a danger to the public so long as he's at large. Detectives have investigated dozens and dozens and dozens of potential sightings, leads, and tips. Said that backwards, with none being successful. Then on the 27th, Todd McGee, a law enforcement and security analyst, told ABC News he believes the fugitive father is likely still alive and will eventually surface since canines have not picked up any type of cadaver or any type of presence of a deceased body. I think that's probably a pretty reasonable conclusion to come to. Quote, canines are trained to look for cadavers and sniff for those types of odors. So he's still maybe on the move, McGee said. McGee said Travis Decker will likely leverage every bit of his military experience, but said he believes he will eventually surface. He'll eventually have to surface through seeking shelter, seeking food, nutrition. Those types of things will require him to come out of hiding and to some degree expose himself to the general public. Regardless of where Travis Decker may be, McGee said he's confident the search efforts will lead to some form of closure. Joseph and I talked about this just the other day. Closure is not a thing. Never, not a thing. In crime, in these kinds of things. I'm confident that something should reveal itself as far as a resolution as to where his existence is, and hopefully a capture and an arrest, he said. Okay, officials announced on the 1st of July that the bloody handprints found on the tailgate of Travis Decker's truck match the DNA profile, quote, that we believe is Decker's, the Chelan County Sheriff's Office said in a statement, which begs the question how he got injured or if he injured himself. Crazy. With this evidence, officials said they do not have any reason to believe there are any other suspects. Authorities said they are continuing this multi-agency search for Decker, saying the National Park Service is also planning to send out swift water search and rescue teams in the near future to conduct more searches of the bodies of water around the crime scene. All right. On the 5th, the Marshal Service set up a tip line, or said it received a tip from a family camping in the Bear Creek area of Sawtooth National Forest in Idaho, saying they saw someone consistent with the description of Travis Decker. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah. On the 17th, video released by the Wenatchee Police Department shows Travis Decker 3 days before he picked up his kids and vanished. The video obtained by ABC News shows Travis Decker in a parking lot of a grocery store in Wenatchee, Washington, after he rear-ended another individual's vehicle. I think he was just suffering from all sorts of mental health issues. Yeah, we don't need to totally get into that. Let's see. Oh, even though the search efforts have scaled back, Morrison said the Chelan County Sheriff's Office, the Marshal Service, and partners in Canada are still actively working on the investigation. Will follow any possible leads that could help them locate Travis Decker. We could be in for a fight for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. I certainly hope we're looking at a couple weeks and it closes out, but it could be a long time, and we're committed to staying with it. Morrison also revealed that the non-human blood samples found at the scene of the crime belonged to Travis Decker's dog, which was recovered in good health at the scene and was taken to the Humane Society. Okay. Let's see. Decreased tips, so forth. More tips. Okay. August 8th, that brings us to August 18th. Now, maybe we should pause here for a second, see what you guys are saying. Let's see. Let's bring up the girls again and come on over to your comments here. Woman of Steel says Katitas. Katitas, okay? Let's see if there's anything else that, yeah. Susan says no such thing as closure. Can't imagine how Whitney feels. Yeah, this is just, this is a doozy of the case. I guess the screaming was PTSD related, I'm sure. Yes, the marriage was over. Yep. So, okay. You guys are like, dude, get to Joseph Scott Morgan. But let's go over to, let's first go over to this, which is the release. Let's see, I think I have Jess to thank for this, or Kelsey. Dang it. I should have remembered that. One of my awesome volunteers got this for me. I really appreciate it. This came from the Chelan County Sheriff's Office. This was, 3 days ago? Okay. Okay, as previously reported on June 2nd, the bodies of Peyton, Evelyn, and Olivia Decker were located near the Rock Island campground along Icicle Creek. At that time, each victim was found with plastic bags over their head. Two of the victims each had two separate bags over their heads, and the third victim had three separate bags over their head. In addition, several cable ties were located on the ground in the immediate area of the bodies. These plastic bags and cable ties were collected that night by the Washington State Patrol Crime Unit or Crime Response Team. Chelan County Sheriff's detectives submitted this evidence to the Washington State Crime Lab for DNA analysis. In early June, autopsies were completed, and the medical examiner determined the cause of death for each victim was suffocation and the manner of death was homicide. Let's talk about this for just a minute. And we're just going to say it out loud. I know most of us know this, but we want to take opportunities to learn here, right? There's a big difference between suffocation and strangulation. Okay, sometimes we think of strangulation as suffocation, like they're choking out so they can't breathe. But what strangulation really does is it cuts off the blood supply to the brain. It causes the victim to lose consciousness relatively quickly. We talked with Brian. I'm blanking on his name right now. Brian. Why am I blanking on Brian's name? Anyway, he is a strangulation expert, right? And he talked about just a little pressure does a lot, and it does not take long for a person to lose consciousness. Now, suffocation is a different thing. Suffocation is like smothering like this, or in the case of Peyton, Evelyn, and Olivia, bags over their heads. This would cause them to respirate their own breath, right? So as they breathe in, the lungs get all that refreshing and life-saving oxygen, and then they breathe out mostly carbon dioxide with other gases, right? As they breathe that in, it becomes less and less oxygen rich, and the body begins to fight for life. This is something that it doesn't take a few moments. It takes a long time, a relative long time. We're not talking hours here, but like minutes that feel like hours. So, yeah, suffocation is a different thing than strangulation. Let's just leave it at that, okay? It's just mean. It really, like, I can't think of a better descriptor for it. It's just mean. Now, maybe he didn't feel like it was mean. Maybe in his mental state, I, I can't explain it. It's not explicable. It's non-explicable, right? But I mean, this is the kind of stuff that terrible people do to people. These are like mob hits and things like that. Anyway, on August 6th, 2025, the Washington State Crime Lab reported DNA profiles matching Travis Decker were found on the plastic bags that were covering each of his daughter's heads. DNA, and Joseph's going to tell us a little bit about this. DNA profiles matching Peyton, Evelyn, and Olivia Decker were also located on the plastic bags. No other DNA profiles were obtained from the plastic bags. One DNA profile was obtained from the cable ties collected at the scene. That DNA sample matched the profile for Travis Decker. No other DNA profiles were obtained from the cable ties. The completion of this DNA analysis provides additional evidence that indicates Travis Decker is the one and only suspect involved in committing these homicides. Decker's whereabouts remain unknown. At this time, we do not have any evidence to suggest that he is either alive or deceased. The Chelan County Sheriff's Office continues to communicate with local, state, federal law enforcement partners to coordinate continued search efforts. This is important for all of us. This next paragraph. The U.S. Marshals Service continues to offer a reward of up to $20,000 for information leading directly to Travis Decker's arrest. Mr. Decker should be considered armed and dangerous. That means do not approach somebody you believe to be Travis Decker. Do not engage with anybody you believe to be Travis Decker. If you see him, call 911 immediately. Do not attempt to contact or approach him. Anyone with information is urged to contact the nearest U.S. Marshal's office, the U.S. Marshals Service Communications Center, 1-800-336-0102, or USMS tips at marshals.gov/tips. But honestly, 911 might be the best way to go. Okay? If you see him. If not, yeah. If you have a tip that's not, like, I guess, important in the moment, it's not emergent, then give them a call. Okay? And then I think that's the end of it. Right? So, yeah. Mr. Decker is our one and only suspect. He looks different. He had a previous mugshot. I think he's just experiencing maybe one of the worst cases of mental health crises I've ever seen. Oh, these poor little ones. Suffocation. Okay, now come with me over to this video. This is from Law and Crime. This is Sidebar with Jesse Weber, as you can read for yourself. This is a program that I like to watch. And you're going to recognize one of the guests. Maybe you'll recognize both of the guests as friend of the show, Joseph Scott Morgan. This is about a 9-minute video. We might pause as we go along the way. This was published to YouTube. I downloaded it so I could play it for you guys and bump up the volume a little bit. All right, here we go.
Let me bring on two experts in this area. I am joined by forensic death investigator from Jacksonville State University, Joseph Scott Morgan, host of the Body Bags podcast. Encourage everybody to go check that one out. And retired NYPD detective Dave Sarney, who's also an adjunct professor at John Jay College of Criminal Justice. Thank you both so much for coming on. Joseph, I'll start with you. Talk to me about the brutality of that scene. What are the takeaways? I mean, does that method of killing these three young girls, does that suggest a particular type of assailant?
Yeah, I think that it does. And here's the most terrifying part about this is that they would have struggled mightily. This is, we hear the term suffocation. This is truly in the purest form what's referred to as an oxygen deprivant event, where the individual, and it happens relatively quickly, but they are struggling for life because they're rebreathing their own expelled air. So with the uptake, when you're blowing out your oxygen or blowing out air, that air that you're blowing out is actually carbon dioxide. It's a painful death. Your brain is screaming for oxygen.
It's painful. It's a painful death. This isn't something where you just lights out, and he goes into this a little bit, but this is not a kindness. This is sick. This is mean. It's painful.
oxygen, these precious little angels that are there, and they have these bags over their head, there would have been struggle. We think about what it's like, when you're trying to breathe. And to add a layer to this, just follow me here. Most of the time, it's a natural response to put our hands up to our face, our throat, this sort of thing. Maybe in a primal sense, try to clear our airway. They're bound. Can't do that. They can't get any kind of relief at this point, because if they're zip tied, if their hands are zip tied,
Yeah.
they can't manipulate anything. My suspicion is obviously that they were probably zip tied and then suffocated with these bags, maybe laying adjacent to one another. I don't know necessarily how the bags were secure. I think that's interesting.
And why multiple bags? As if it wasn't horrifying enough. Multiple bags?
Well, I think that maybe in his mind, if he did this, you're thinking about were these bags permeable in any way? He's trying to kind of cover all of his bases. So the more layers you have here, as far as these layers of bags, you are preventing any kind of leakage or
The thing that occurs to me here that is just, it just shocks the conscience is that, as parents, well, I can't speak at what it's like to be a mom. I can only speak what it's like to be a dad. Every instinct within you is to protect your children, your family, your spouse, your children. Like it is. In fact, Kimberly made fun of me. She made fun of me when our children were born because she would go through this intense labor, deliver our child, and she would be on this high, right? Of course, exhausted. And I mean, I'm not even describing that well, but in the condition that one is after delivering a child, right? Just exhausted and emotional, and there's just so much going on. And as soon as it was over for me, I was out all 5 times. I was out because of the emotion of not being able to protect my spouse from the pain that she was having to go through. It's an exhausting thing, and it transfers onto your children. Like, you are their protector. You are the person that is going to be the place where there's always safe haven. When they're toddlers, they can hide behind you. And as they grow into adults, they know emotionally that you're safe haven. You are their protection. And there's just a dissonance for me that a father could do this to their child. And I recognize that he was going through a severe mental health crisis. I recognize it. It's just baffling to me that there is a mental health crisis powerful enough to break through that instinct that is in our animal brain. It's in our lizard brain. It's been in our brain for millions of years. It's so such a part of our instinct. It's just shocking that can even happen. It's so tragic.
Of the carbon dioxide, he has an understanding of this, and this is actually, be quite frank with you, this is a methodology of torture that has been utilized in a number of cases over the years, where people will have bags placed over their heads. They're brought to the point of passing out or death, and then the bag is removed. They start to rebreathe again. And so that part of it is particularly troubling, because if the dad did this is sadistic. I mean, at this point in time, it's not like, and forgive me, but it's not like, he took these children out and shot them in the back of the head, all right, and put the lights out immediately. It's not what happened here. This is grueling, all right, and they would have had an awareness, Jesse.
It is hard,
and that's sad
to be thinking about. Dave, before I go to you, real quick, Joseph, the DNA results, your thoughts on those? How accurate are those? Because also, let me couple with this, not only the DNA results, on the cable ties and the bags and your thoughts on how accurate that is. But in July, authorities announced that bloody handprints on the tailgate of this truck were found near the girls' bodies and apparently matched the DNA profile, quote, that we believe is Decker's. This is, again, according to the Chelan County Sheriff's Office. So talk to me about how accurate that data is.
Well, I think probably relative to the bags, I think at first blush we might think that, well, this might be touch DNA, which, we lose thousands and thousands of skin cells constantly, and we're sloughing.
I'm going to pause, Joseph, here for a second. This is a good question. What do you see that makes you think he had a mental health crisis? No, that is what Whitney said through her lawyer. That was the reason that she made the arrangement that kind of limited his interaction with the kids. And they even said, the system failed them. He had severe PTSD, and they described it, right? He would leap out of bed screaming, the bed being soaking wet. He had severe PTSD. And that's what they've said. And let me back up what Joseph's saying, because I know I kind of talked over it. Give me a second here. Let me go back about 10 seconds. But that's my opinion. One man's trash.
Thousands and thousands of skin cells constantly, and we're sloughing them. And those are only a partial of DNA. Okay. My thought is if he is engaged in this behavior, this is going to be very stressful. You've got kids that are already restrained, and I'm projecting here. I'm just kind of throwing this out there. He's having to fight with them. Well, one of the things that you think about is the deposition of DNA might be as you're grabbing the interior of the bag and then pulling it over their head. That might be sweat. All right, which is going to be a much more rich source. And again, speculative on my part. And then securing the bag and holding it around their neck, unless he took tape or some other, maybe another tie, to secure it that way. They're not saying that though. So I really wonder if he's placing the bag over their head like this until they're suffocated. Again, that's gruesome, but you've got this direct contact here that's going to be rather robust, particularly if you've got perspiration involved, as opposed to just kind of passively skin cells dropping off.
Dave, let's talk about this search. How do you approach locating and apprehending a suspect with that background that I mentioned before?
Well, here's the issue again. We know you have a point of where he was at. There was time and distance between when they discover the bodies and when he fled the scene. So now you're going to try to do background history of him, trying to get an idea of where he may have been prior to, so he has some familiarity with the area or a location where he was going. He left the car, he left his dog. So he had an intention. He already had some other idea of flight, because if you look at this, to do what he did, this is a planned murder of his children. That's really what it comes down to. This is not about psychopathy. It's not about this. If he's the one responsible, this is
he's saying it's not about psychopathy.
And there had to be some sort of planned escape. This isn't sort of a happenstance. So that's the reason. And then you're talking about the outdoors and the wilderness and the ability for law enforcement to track someone after that long period of time that he's been away. Not only that, with his possible plan, now you have to put out this gigantic net and hope to bring it in. And what happens is, as this case has gone on, the resources, you had a lot more law enforcement personnel involved. Now the marshals are running the show, and it may have been scaled back for resources because of manpower. So now you have this guy has been leaving 2 months at this point, and that's why the sheriff, you could say, he could be anywhere because they don't have, they don't know his exit strategy, and they haven't been able to find anyone who's found him.
Well, so the Chelan County Sheriff's Office confirmed to ABC News that cadaver dogs had been used. There were tracking dogs. They've looked at sightings, tips, leads. There has been nothing. There was an announcement last month that they may need to scale back the search since the leads have kind of dried up. There is a reduced footprint. There have been reported potential sightings. In July, the U.S. Marshal Service got a tip on July 5th that someone consistent with Travis's description was seen in the Bear Creek area of Sawtooth National Forest in Idaho, described by officials as a white male, anywhere from 5'8" tall to 5'10" tall, wearing a black mesh cap, black earrings, a cream colored t-shirt, black shorts, low-top sneakers, a black Garmin-style watch, sporting a long ponytail, an overgrown beard, a mustache, was carrying a black JanSport backpack. In August, there was a potential sighting of Travis near this pass along the Pacific Crest Trail in Washington. This was according to the King County Sheriff's Office, and law enforcement looked into it, but Travis wasn't found. And the Kittitas County Sheriff Clay Myers said in a statement, "We can't and won't quit this search. Peyton, Evelyn, and Olivia Decker deserve justice. Decker remains a danger to the public as long as he's at large." Dave, are you surprised he hasn't been located? If he is alive, how could he be surviving on his own?
And that's a question that I'm going to believe baffles the sheriff's office and most of law enforcement at this point is, how much did he have available? How much material did he have when he fled the location to sustain himself this long? This is almost like Rambo in a sense. He's just found his way to just put himself into the wilderness. And the problem is, again, technology isn't available to us to do anything more than have helicopters and drones, cadaver dogs and the like looking for him. You know, there's no video cameras. There's nothing. He's not leaving some sort of footprint within social media or anything like that. So that's why when you see this, what the sheriff says is pretty accurate. We don't know where he is. And they're going to keep looking, but could he be dead? It's possible. Could he still be hiding somewhere else? It's possible. You do what you can. I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's just the problem is now resources are limiting.
Yeah. So, I mean, and I'm hearing what you guys are saying. You guys are disagreeing with me, and I think that's perfectly fine. Lucy Fair says, Lucy Fair, haha, I get you. In my experience, PTSD hijacks the animal brain and can send you into fight or flight over nothing. I wonder if the opposite happens where the animal brain doesn't fire when it should. Possible. And you guys are bringing up good points, that it did appear that he had planned it. And the detective here said that, this is planned. So maybe it wasn't a break. Maybe it had nothing to do with the PTSD. I don't know. I guess I've made some assumptions that I need to rethink. And there was a comment earlier. Let me go all the way back. Oh yeah, Autumn, it was Brian Bennett. Thank you. Dang it. Should have remembered that. Thanks, Autumn. Didn't Chris Watts do that also? Yeah, Chris Watts is another example of somebody what? Obviously he murdered his daughters and his unborn child. But what does he have in common with Travis Decker? To me, I think that Chris Watts was a guy that just felt like he was beyond his breaking point. Is what it felt like. I know that Shanann Watts and the girls are his victims, but when I watched the documentaries, just kind of when I was getting into the Chris Watts case, I was seeing some of the things that Shanann was sharing with other people, and I was going, "Oh my goodness, what are you doing?" You don't know how hurtful that is to a husband. But so, is it possible that Travis Decker had those same feelings? Like, just got pushed to the breaking point? Possibly. Did the girls' toxicology report indicate if the girls had any sleep aid like Benadryl? I don't think any toxicology has been released. I don't think we know any of that. It would make me feel better if that were the case. I feel like it probably isn't, though. He bound them. If they're like passed out, I don't know. Male animals sometimes eat their young instead of protecting them. That is true, but the human animal, it's an exception for somebody to behave that way. Let's see. Cindy Luhoot says, Gavin, he let the hatred of his wife overcome the love of his children. He did this because he wanted his wife to suffer. That's possible. Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, I wish they would put dates on the latest photos. Me too. Anything else? Say what? Words from your wife can press you to the breaking point? I don't understand what you're saying. The answer to that question is yes. The answer to that question is 100% yes. Like, again, I try to stay clear of hot button political issues. But if you want to know the difference between, if you want to see the difference between men and women, it is how we process stress. In the case of Shanann Watts, she was processing stress by telling everybody about her stress. She was disclosing things that if Chris knew she was disclosing those things would be extremely hurtful to him. Now, I'm not saying it's her fault. I'm just saying she processed stress that way. It's not like Chris Watts was an angel. That dude was horrible. He's having affairs. Horrible guy. Processes stress differently. Men process it internally. Sometimes it externalizes through some sort of energy outburst, fighting, or whatever. But yeah, I feel in Chris Watts' case, to answer your question, Jet Set J, words from your wife can press you to the breaking point. The answer is 100% yes. I mean, we see it all the time. Barry Morphew, Drew Peterson. I mean, there's so many. There's so many examples of it. Just because of the way that we process stress differently or we handle stress differently. Murphy's mom, their mom must live in fear, wondering if he will show up to unalive her too. Interesting. Same thing. Let's see. Mott's mummy says, could he have been having hallucinations and believe the children were enemy soldiers or something? Yeah, possible. Yeah. I think that there was a mental health break. That is just my belief. Of course, I mean, the evidence, I'm just processing the evidence that I see, not forensically and probably not even fairly. But to me, it looks like a mental health crisis because it just otherwise it just doesn't make any sense. But I'm wrong all the time. All the time. Let's see. Woman of Steel. He did this to hurt his wife for the breakup of the marriage. He asked her to take him back. She said no, and it seems like that made him snap. I don't know if that happened, but I mean, it's certainly a possibility. Sure. Yep. Let's see. Yeah, the day he took them, he told her he would have him back by 8, just the way he always would. Yeah, it does seem pre-planned. So kind of where I'm going. And don't forget, everybody, I am a professional waffler. I waffle back and forth on all this stuff. Okay, I'm a waffler and a quibbler, and I do it professionally. Not well, but I do it. So yeah, and then psychosis is possible. Yeah. Let's see if I missed anything else that you guys are saying. Robin said, sadly, it does happen, but I'm not sure what you were saying. Sadly, it does happen too. Everything else is hidden. So I think I've got everything. Hey, guys, did I just push that twice? Is it going to come back up? We got a lot going on the channel right now. We've got our regular 7:30 p.m. Live streams, and then we have got 2 trials happening right now. One is the trial of, let me find it here real quick, of Christopher Wolfenbarger, who is accused of murdering his wife, Melissa Wolfenbarger, back in late 1998 or 1999. She was missing. Her body was found about 4 years later, but it was misidentified as a male. It wasn't until 2024 that that an arrest was made, and Christopher Wolfenbarger is now on trial for her murder, and we are following that. It's something that nobody else seems to be following, but it is a fascinating case. It is a roller coaster of emotions. I left this little bit out. Melissa Wolfenbarger, this victim right here, she is the daughter of convicted and now dead serial killer Carl Patton. So that is one trial that we're looking at. Another trial that is now just going to get started is the trial of Donna Adelson in the murder of her son-in-law, Dan Markel. So we're watching that. We're doing watch parties on that as well. Of course, we're doing it during my normal work day. So it's more of a watch party than it is me being a host, right? I chime in on the chat every once in a while, but that is what we're doing. So pick your poison and join us. Put it on in the background. You know, these days last, wrong button. These days last 6-7 hours sometimes, and you're welcome to join us. Just a couple more comments that have come in before we call it a day. Cindy Lou Hoot says, Gavin, you are a sweet soul. Well, thank you. You're just trying to rationalize it in your brain, and there's no way to rationalize it. That could be true. It could be true. Woman of Steel says that she read it. I read that he asked her to take him back in a newspaper article. It sounded true, but who knows? Okay. Yeah, it's possible. Especially local news reporters do a good job of kind of teasing that kind of information out. And then let's see. CB, that case is absolutely. Oh, are we talking about Christopher Wolfenbarger? I don't know. In my humble opinion, the state has not proven that he is guilty. I'm curious what the jury will do. I'm very curious about it. It's Wolfenbarger is quite a lot to say. It is true. But anyway, we've got a lot going on. Speaking of a lot going on, if you want to just like maybe not join all the craziness, but you want to kind of hang out with us a little bit, we do that over on Facebook in the Fish Tank. Just go to Facebook and search the Fish Tank or search Gavin Fish. You'll find it. Or if you go to my website, gavinfish.com, you can click on this little fishy up in the corner. That will take you over to the tank. Last thing I want to bring to your attention, there's a support me page on my website. You guys do so much to support me, and I deeply, deeply appreciate it. So go to this page, scroll all the way at the bottom. Autumn and Mooney and Robin have been rock stars during this craziness that is 3 live streams in a day. They're doing great. I really appreciate them. Autumn is our lead moderator. Please buy Autumn a coffee. I'm no guilt or pressure. Just if you can, if you want to, that's what you can do to support Autumn as our lead moderator. She is awesome with 6 capital A's. Okay? All right. With that, guys, I've had enough. I think you probably have too. Thanks for joining me. I will see you tomorrow for the Wolfenbarger and the Adelson trials. Should be fun. I'll see you then. Until then, I bid you adieu. Take care of yourselves. Be safe. Bye-bye. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.